Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Tony Dudzik, Pick Guardian.
Jared Brandon Wound Pickups.
Hey, there's me, Todd Novak. We are thrilled to death you are listening to our show with us right now, the Guitar Knobs podcast.
That's right.
Always excited to sit across from my two gentlemen friends. I say that very loosely, friends. Haha, not gentlemen. Tony, what do we do on the show?
We like to talk about gear.
Yes.
Yep. And the makers of gear.
Yep.
And especially boutique builders of gear.
Yep.
So whether that might be guitars or amps or pedals
Yep.
or
Tuners.
tuners
Tuners.
Pickups.
or
Tuners.
Strings.
or
All the other stuff.
all those other things. You know, accessories, if you will.
Accessories. What I really enjoy are our 101.
I love our 101. And we're going to have a good one coming up real soon.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
I'm
with,
excited.
With somebody special. So
Oh.
more to come on that. Who do we have on the line right now?
Jordan Clayton, Pine Box Customs.
Holy
Ooh.
moly. Pine Box Customs. This is exciting. We've had a lot of time to play around with Pine Box pedals. We've had some great interactions with him. He's been very kind and generous, just even with other things we've been doing offline, and been a pleasure to kind of, start to get to know him a little bit. And we hope that that's going to be a pleasure for you too, because we're going to get to know him a lot more, find out his backstory, and find out more about Pine Box Customs. If you are able to right now, make sure you check out Pine Box Customs on, I would say, Instagram specifically. He does a great job with his channel, and you can see all of the awesome stuff he does. They are fantastic sounding pedals, and his swag and marketing is on point. I think something might have just fallen off a building out over there. What was that?
That was a dog bark.
Oh, okay, good. Nobody falling off a building. That's great.
That's
I
always
don't
that's
have
always
any
good.
dogs.
What was that?
Do you have any buildings?
No, I'm just kidding. That was my dog. I apologize.
That was no problem. It's not a problem. We've had birds. We've had cats. We've had other dogs.
Motorcycles,
we've had babies.
airplanes.
A lot of motorcycles.
Yeah, helicopters, all kinds of stuff. Anyways, all right. Hey, guys, we are going to have an awesome show tonight. I am very excited about this.
Wait,
Yes.
isn't there someone we have to thank?
Well, I'm about to get to that.
Oh, okay.
You head me off at the pass. So we've got some announcements. We'd like to thank Rode for providing some awesome audio gear, including the Rodecaster Pro, which is recording every little crummy word we say.
Nuance.
Nuances of our words. Yes.
Seances and nuances.
Nuances and seances. And for the Rode Procaster microphone, which Tony especially loves to cozy up to.
I do, and it has an articulating arm.
That is correct, Amundo. And Jared likes to talk into it too.
Yes, I do. The articulating
from
arm
the side
is
of it.
very good.
Yes.
When you change positions sitting down in one position for too long, you can change positions and then just move your microphone wherever you want.
He can articulate it.
It's amazing. There's like a
articulates.
fly that keeps going on my my mic right here. It's kind of weird. Not cool.
Stinky Mike.
Hell. Anyways, okay. Whew. We've got a couple more announcements. Hey, we maybe some of you longtime listeners out there remember John Parsons from Tasmania. That's a real place, everybody. That's not made up in
Tasmania.
like Looney Tunes cartoons. That's real.
Australia.
He was on episode 50. That's almost 100 episodes ago. That's crazy to think about. Anyways, he shot me a note real quick and was just saying, hey, thanks for, some more great shows. And it was great to hear from him. And he just, I said, hey, what's going on with you? You want to share anything? And he happened to share with me that he's in the process of making a bunch of basses. John's got a really interesting aesthetic to his guitars. It's very simple, but it's unique. And he does a slit hole up by the almost, what does he call the forearm area? I don't know what what is that?
The forearm area.
The forearm area. He does a really interesting cut there for like a sound hole. It's kind of neat, like a semi-hollow body thing.
So it shoots back at you.
But not all of them. And his bases really look amazing. I will say that. He shot me a couple images of them. He's got 2 new shapes, the Asher and the Soul, and he's turning those into actual things. He also says he's in the process of launching a sub-brand called Dot Dash Guitars.
Awesome.
Simpler paint and finishes and just, maybe a more of an entry-level guitar. So that's really cool.
Like a melody maker.
I appreciated him sending me a note, and we encourage those who are out there.
And you don't even have to be a previous
builder
guest.
or a previous guest. Just send us a note.
Send us a note.
Yeah.
We get them all the time. It's great. It's fantastic. We try to read as many as we can, and we're grateful for that. Also, something else we're grateful for is our patrons. And you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna give away a jam pedal to our patrons. The Lucy Dreamer.
Oh, the Lucy
is
Dreamer.
Gonna go to one of our patrons.
Dreaming about Lucy.
Very excited. That's the Overdrive.
Oh, yeah.
It's good stuff, man.
Sweet.
So we're gonna make that happen
Opa.
for a lucky patron, and we'll give you more information on becoming a patron at the end of the show.
That's right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I have a segment prepared.
That's correct. And also, if you're out there checking, just kind of going through the Instagram, looking at Pine Box stuff, why don't you head on over to our channel and just give us a follow? We would really appreciate that. Trying to build up the old audience.
Hurry up and do it real quick.
Yep.
Do it now. Put it on pause
And just do it.
and just do it.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Let's get to hearing some things from Jordan in a minute. We're going to start with what's going on in this week within our music world. I usually like to start with Tony so that everybody understands what's going on. Tony.
What? What segment is this?
What's going on in your music world this week, homie?
Yeah. So this week, so I don't know, maybe an episode or two ago, we were talking a little bit about the Joan Jett, Eric Carmen guitar connection.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I got just an urge to create a Eric Carmen / early Joan Jett 65 melody maker.
Which he's going to give to me.
No, I'm not going to give it to you. So I was
sell to me.
I was trolling the waters of the various online auction type things.
Yeah.
And found a couple of good candidates. Found one really good candidate that I put in just what I thought was kind of a ridiculously low bid, and I ended up winning it.
What?
It was just kind of on a whim, but nobody else bid on the thing, so I got it for pretty much opening bid, and it was a 65 single pickup Gibson Melody Maker in cherry, and my thought was, well, I can always take that and route it out, make it a double humbucker, put in a Tune-o-matic and tailpiece like the Joan Jett and Eric Carmen model.
It's a blank canvas.
So the thing comes in, and it is honestly one of the best examples of a melody maker from that era that I have ever seen.
Let's chop it up.
All right, I got the router. So in my world, I could just never forgive myself if I did such a thing to this guitar. I mean, it's beautiful. It's got a Les Paul kind of neck to it. Most of the other melody makers are more like an SG with that thin thing. This
It's a
one,
pretty thick neck. I mean, your whole hand
it's
will
a great
fit on
neck. It feels like I said, like an older Les Paul neck. I mean, there's a couple of dings and nicks and scratches and things, but it's 100%.
It's got great checking on the front. I like it.
It's 100% original. The only thing missing from it was one of the tone knob was missing, which I have a replica one, but I'm sure.
Yeah, you can find one.
You'll
get one.
Yeah, I'll have to get an original one.
A reflector,
And it's
right?
got the original case.
And the case was just a mess. I mean, it was all torn apart, but it does have a Gibson badge in it. But a couple of dozen hot glue gun sticks later, I got it back together. So let that be a lesson. If you ever see a case that looks like a true basket case, hot glue gun, man, you can do wonders with hot glue.
Amazing.
So are hard cases easy to find for those?
No.
They're really hard to find for those.
The only kinds of
Not
cases.
even just original, just a normal.
No,
everyday
because
hard
it's an
case.
odd shaped body.
Same thing with the double cuts, just like ours. Those things are impossible to
Yeah,
find.
I think if
And
you
this-
just get a rectangular one,
You'd have to, because this one won't fit into a Les Paul case.
Right. It's a little too long
It's
in the body.
The body is a little bit oblong. But they only made cardboard cases for these things back in the day, and that's what this is. But anyhow, it's a very cool guitar. So, needless to say, since I'm leaving this one unscathed, I had to find another one
to scathe.
and this one had already been scathed, so I have no qualms about turning it into what I wanted to do.
Awesome.
So it is in the works right now. I had to plug the holes for where the original bridge was. There's a little bit of body work that needs to be done to it, but it's going to end up being a cool guitar. But interestingly, this one has one of those SG super thin necks on it, like I expected off of this.
I don't like those.
Well, you get used to them.
That's not my
I mean, it feels like a freaking
bag of
Ibanez. I mean, really.
Yeah.
well, it's not like Joan Jett has giant hands. That she probably preferred that smaller neck.
and
It
I'm
would
gonna
look really weird if she did, because she's really small.
Yes, she is.
And I'm assuming that Eric Carmen had very small hands too.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
So anyhow, more to come on that
That's
project.
really cool. Keep us
as
posted
it
on that.
unfolds.
All right, let's hear from our man Jordan. Jordan, what's going on in your music world this week?
So this week, nothing really musical, I guess, per se. I recently ripped all of the carpet out of my shop and laid hardwoods last weekend, and I'm just getting set up a better shop and a little demo space and things of that nature. So nothing directly going, I guess, into music, but it will allow me to do a little bit of demo work and just things of that nature. So I'll get to enjoy the space a little bit more in the future.
That's cool. I think it's important, like having a really good space that you can walk in and feel like it's home, or that you have the personal touches that are necessary to create, or to feel that the work you're doing is represented correctly. I think that's important.
So
it was really dark. It was never intended to be a shop, so it was really dark and just a darker paint color. And there was also carpet. It doubles as my shop and my studio. So all of these little resistor leads and component leads that I'm cutting go directly into the carpet. So then walking is a task. It goes right through your Crocs is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So it's not directly related, I suppose, but I'm really looking forward to being able to utilize the space a lot better and just enjoy it a little more than I did previously.
Awesome. Jared.
So I had a more family-ish kind of musical week, and I had my old grandpa. He peacefully passed away, which, it's sad to say goodbye and everything, but, you got to go when you got to go. But anyway, I was spending time with my uncle, and he's had this Martin guitar that he's had forever. And I've kind of heard of the story here and again, but I asked him, I said, so I heard you got this at a pawn shop in Colorado in Estes Park. He's like, yeah, I'll tell you the story. So I guess back in the 70s, he was in Colorado visiting his sister, Aunt Bonnie, and they were just shopping along downtown, whatever. And he goes in this pawn shop, and there's this old Martin in there.
It sounds like a would you rather.
No.
Okay.
It does, but it's not. This is for realsies. He went in there, and he found this Martin D35 just sitting there. He said there was a few minor things wrong with it. And he paid the guy the $150 that he wanted for it.
Jeez.
And it's got Brazilian back, and it's got Brazilian sides. And
wow.
So yeah, now they're Now they're worth around $4,000 to $6,000.
Wow.
Does he still have it?
Oh, of course he does. He plays it.
Oh, that's
He
cool.
had a pickup put in it, and he had I think he had the neck reset ones. You have to reset all those necks on all those older Martins because they didn't have truss rods. But it's just a really great story, great guitar. It's been his forever, and it was great spending time with him and playing with him and just kind of talking about the old days.
That's cool.
So, yeah, and then we played at my grandpa's funeral. It was great.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
What was the banner thing that you had on? You
Of course.
A photo of that.
How could I leave that out? So back in the late 60s, early 70s, Dad was in a band called Moose Picker Falls. I probably mentioned this in a podcast long ago. Anyway, they had a sign that was made by one of their guitar players, and he had long passed in 1973 because he was into drugs and alcohol, and he froze to death on the porch.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow,
And that really happened.
that's an uplifting story.
Yeah. So yeah.
Kids,
All these people dying and stories of people dying, but it's a good story. So anyway, he made the sign for the band, and it's just been kept for so many years, and they've all the band members kept in touch with each other, and it's a really cool sign. It's got a couple of mountain men on each side of the sign. It's about 8 foot long. It's a cool sign.
yeah.
But anyway,
It looked really cool. I saw it on the thing.
yeah.
So
the guy, the guy named Don, he was a bass player. I couldn't remember what he was a bass player, and he called me up and said, "Hey, I want to give you my sign. I'm cleaning out the garage and stuff. It's just sitting in there collecting dust." And I said, "Great. Yeah, I'll be up anyway. My grandpa died, so I'll come and get the sign." So I got the sign.
Killing two birds with one stone.
That's right. As sad as it all sounds, I had the greatest time going, and this was all up North Michigan. It's cooler up there. It's less humidity. And my uncle I was talking about with the Martin, he lives on a lake. We had a really good time.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So
All right.
I had a good time this past week.
picking and a sharing.
So, are you going to hang the banner in the basement, or what are you going to do with that?
I don't know. I'll probably hang it in the basement.
That's a good idea.
cool.
Keep it home. All right.
Todd, what about you? What's going on in your musical work?
What'd you do?
Well, I just had a gig, and our buddy Mike Trombley from Native Audio showed up.
Hey,
And I
Mikey.
said, "Hey, Mike, do me a favor while you're out in front, like make sure that I'm coming through all right, because that's the hardest thing. Is like you spend so much time dialing in your tone and your levels and everything, and you get up on stage and you don't really know what it sounds like to anybody else unless you have a mole out there who's giving you a thumb up, like more, or less, but that never happens." And at one point, he's giving me the thumbs up, and I'm like, "Man, I'm pretty loud up here." And it occurred to me, maybe I need a little bit more mid going on to kind of cut through.
Oh, you sure he wasn't just giving you a thumbs up? Like, you're doing a great job.
No,
Todd.
it was a middle finger. He was using his middle for some reason to tell me to turn up.
I gotcha.
No, he was giving me the volume like, "Hey, you could come up a little bit." So, but I've heard that a couple times, and I'm part of me. I'm just trying to be respectful. I don't want to be the toolbox that goes up there and cranks my amp so it drowns everybody else out.
Yeah.
So I edged it up a little bit, and then I got home and I was just thinking about that, and I saw, I was looking at my pedal shelf, and I saw the GE7 sitting there, the Boss GE7. I'm like, I wonder if I just give this a little bump, and I do think it's going to help. I will be going into practice again and I'll be able to tell real quick because I don't have an EQ on the board right now, but it also has a buffer. Now, another issue that I was running into is that when I have my pedals plugged in, if I just go clean on the amp, completely clean, I can tell the amp is a little bit, and almost like it's got a bit of a blanket on it, right? So I'm losing some stuff there. If I plug straight in, I get those extra dynamics back, which is kind of a bummer because I'd like to have the best of both worlds. So I'm going to be, right now I have the GE7 EQ, the Boss EQ, right after my drives, in between the drives and my modulation. But I think what I'm going to do is put it at the end and see if that buffer can't kind of just edge a little bit more out. If it can't, then the next thing is going to be completely replacing all my pancake cables with my Three Monkeys stuff. So, which I probably will end up doing at some point in time anyways.
You don't have an effects loop in your amp, do you?
I do not.
Okay.
Straight through. Straight through, baby. Hey! I don't know what that is, but anyways. Okay. So that was fun. So I'll let you know what happens with that.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Tony. Jordan Clayton, are you ready for this?
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor.
Jordan Clayton from Pine Box Customs. I am really excited to hear what your 4 on the floor is.
All right, so largely based on overdrives. That's my thing. First, I'm going to have to go with a Boss BD2. It's just been a go-to for 13 years or so.
Wow.
It was the very first pedal I ever bought, very first pedal I ever really noticed and thought, wow, this just sounds great. I was in a small venue in Memphis in 2006 and saw Manchester Orchestra for the first time.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Good
I
stuff.
don't know if you're familiar.
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea who they were, but Andy Hull plays similar to the way I play, where he pretty much dimes his amps and just uses pedals basically to push them a little bit. So not heavily pedal influenced, I guess. And the BD2 just has the lower gain settings on it are just phenomenal and really push your amp to that next level without doing a whole lot from the pedal. So yeah, I've had 4 or 5 of them over the years, and they're just great.
Awesome. Is that, well, we'll get into, I'll ask that question later. Zip, I'm going to put that back in my mouth. All right. What's next?
Next would have to be the Dimidash 112 Plus, the new overdrive from my buddy Steve Dimidash. I'm sure y'all have heard of him. He has the T120 delay that's kind of kicking around right now.
Okay.
He's currently on like a 2-year wait list or so.
That's a nice place to be.
Yeah. So he just did a kind of a soft release on this 112 Plus that is the most outstanding lower gain overdrive I've probably played. I treat it more like an EQ.
Oh, that's interesting.
Or a boost at the front of the chain. It just has a ridiculous amount of range to it.
When you say that, what is like setting wise? What help us out? Help us understand that.
Okay, so it's got your basic 3-band EQ, so bass, treble, mids. They all have a ridiculous amount of range. I mean, you can make it sound terrible, honestly, or phenomenal. But the volume and the drive settings on it are also controlled via trimmers internally. So you can take it has a pre-gain structure as well as a post-gain structure that you can crank on the inside. You can actually make it kind of a little bit fuzzy. It's really weird, and it has this originality to the tone that I haven't heard anything like it before.
Wow.
So if you haven't heard of it, I can't recommend it enough.
Awesome.
I have 2 currently, and they're vastly different. He changes things quite often, but they're both great.
Well, that's a good reco. I love hearing about new ones.
Yeah, and the third would be the Walrus Audio Monument.
All right.
The first version, I haven't played the second version. I imagine it's the same, just slightly smaller. I was never a huge tremolo person, but I got one on a trade. I was more interested in the Monument than what I had at the time. So now I almost treat it as an always on. I run 3 amps. So I do a wet, dry, wet, and I just have it going into my dry, and with the depth set very low, it just kind of gives it just a little bit of movement. Whereas typically it's very dry. And yeah, so it's great, and it's changed the way I play quite a bit.
I like that idea. We talked about that with jam pedals, actually, with the waterfall drive, and actually, and quite a few other times this has come up where sometimes the effect itself is not necessarily needed all the time, but that sort of extra movement that makes it feel very alive and analog and not perfect is really exciting to hear when you're like, I can't put my finger on what that is, but it sounds a little bit more special. And he actually likes to run his at like basically everything off except a little bit of the volume, but it still has, even though it's quote unquote off, it still has a little bit of, you can hear that, just that murmur underneath of just something moving.
If you're really listening, you can catch it. So what I'll typically do is I really don't adjust anything on it, but I will hit the tap tempo on it and kind of change the tempo a little bit, and that'll, I guess, make you notice it if I want it to be noticed. And then otherwise, it's just kind of off, and it has a just kind of, I don't know, it's hard to describe, but you really can't hear it, but it's there.
Yeah. I dig it.
So,
you know what that kind of sound actually reminds me of, and one of the reasons that I think maybe early on I was trying to get something that I didn't know how to explain, but on a really good live recording, got one of my favorites is from Oasis, and you can it sounds alive, and so whatever's happening, whatever the dynamic, I mean, it could be wind moving the mic or something, you don't really know, but there's a liveness to it that is different than in just straight up, like if you just have a dry, something that's been recorded in a studio that doesn't have that just extra something. So it reminds me of that sound, and I love hearing live recordings, and it just makes me feel a little bit like that, which makes me feel good.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Awesome.
All right, so for the fourth one, that was more my the tougher one for me to pick, just because I have so many at this point that I really like for different reasons. But I would have to go with the Southampton Indie Dream. So I don't know if y'all are familiar with that one either.
Yep.
Okay. So a buddy actually sent it to me because I really don't spend much on gear. I'm pretty simple. So I just have a few things I have, and that's really it. So he had been bragging on the Indie Dream for quite a while, and he sent me one. He's a dealer in Canada. So he sent me one, and I sat down with it, and I was, I enjoyed it. You get a new pedal, pretty much you're going to like it. I really love reverb. I like a reverb type echo, but I'm just not a delay guy. So it has such a slight delay to it, but it's more like a reverb, so it's kind of the best of both worlds for me. And then you add an overdrive, which is my favorite effect on top of that, so it really became kind of a desert island pedal. So it's not necessarily like the delay and reverb or the overdrive, neither of those separately are my favorite pedal that I've ever played, but then you put them together and they're just phenomenal.
That's
so awesome. I've really enjoyed that one.
Our friend Hamish, who runs Southampton, is a fine human being, and he makes a lot of great pedals. If you're not familiar with those, definitely go check them out.
So my buddy, his name's Petro, is actually a friend of Hamish as well. So I've spoken to him a little bit, not in depth, but he seems like a pretty nice guy.
Yeah, for sure. Well, man, I like your style. I like how you're using the pedals. Very dynamic way to use them in a very, that takes a lot of, I guess, maybe control and or time to get those kind of dialings in. It isn't just, plug it in, throw it to noon and step on it,
Yeah.
That's cool.
I'm fortunate I live in the middle of nowhere, and my wife is really cool. So I'm fortunate enough to be able to crank my amps up.
Oh, man.
Pretty much always. So I'm running a Bassman and a Princeton and a Twin right now in my setup.
Wow.
And can pretty much dime them out, minus the twin. It's ridiculous. But when you hit those levels, there's just something else that happens, and we all know what I'm talking about. But when you play that way, there's almost not a use for the pedals quite as much. So that, and then you just hear different frequencies and things like that. And so I feel like at those levels, you kind of notice the little small differences with everything.
Dude, I think that's a really great point. Some of the things that I find, at least myself chasing and others that we've talked to, is, if you're playing at a club, typically you can't do that.
Yeah.
So how do you get those sort of unexpected frequencies or harmonics? How do you manufacture those without forcing your electronics to kind of go kind of haywire, right?
Yeah. So I did just recently get a universal audio aux, and as far as attenuation, it's the best thing that I've found so far, but I don't think you can really replicate it. You're just hearing it, at those levels, you're just hearing something. And I don't know if it's just your ears banging and telling you stop, but I mean, there's just something happening, and you can't really replicate it in my opinion. But I mean, you can find the best tools for the job, and certain overdrives work better than others, and you can stack. I mean, there's ways around it, but you just can't beat a cranked amp.
Yeah, I think at that point the room and everything in the room becomes part of the sound.
Absolutely.
Yes,
I've done it myself. I've got a wall of stacks of Marshalls and 412s, and I've had 4 amps on at once and ran 4 amps at a time and had it up really loud just to do it.
Yeah.
And it shook my whole body. The whole room
shook my soul to
that's
the
right.
core.
When you play that chord, that open chord, it just...
Yeah.
So think of Michael J.
nuts.
Fox.
That's exactly right.
Eyeballs start shaking.
It's seriously
I don't have those things, but the kind of sounds that we're chasing, I think I may have been able to at least manufacture them as close as I can with the setup that I have. And I do get a lot of comments after the shows of like, wow, what are you doing? Because, even from Billy Spitfire, I'm pointing at Tony. Billy Spitfire was like right in front of my amp, just going, holy mackerel, man, the tones. And he is a respected player in the community. And it was cool to hear that from him. And I was like, oh, wow, cool. Maybe I'm doing something right. And I feel like I've been able to, that's what I've been chasing, for lack of better terms, and chasing tone is not necessarily how sweet it sounds or how perfect it sounds, but that odd, like the ghost in the machine kind of sound.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that was a mighty fine 4 on the floor. I liked it. I think
Righteous.
I think we could probably bro out with some guitars and amps and stuff. I'm fairly certain of
Let's
that.
crank them. Crank it.
All right. We are talking to Jordan Clayton of Pine Box Customs. Now, Jordan sent us a box full of Pine Box. And it was a real treat playing these pedals, man. I want you to know that. Didn't know what to expect. A lot of them are drive-based. So I was like, okay, well, you have an idea of what to expect. But I got to say, I didn't expect what I heard. One of the neatest things that happened is when I started rearranging the order and sort of stacking different ones together and then rearranging the order of those stacks. I was like, wow, I got all kinds of really interesting tones out that I really wasn't expecting. Some of them didn't like to be together as much. Some of them really loved each other. Then when I had that, I was like, wow, this sounds amazing. I'm going to go plug. So if I was playing my, the Les Paul, special, I dropped that. That's got P90s, and I grabbed the Hagstrom, which has got humbuckers. Well, that was a completely different story. So then I got to rearrange everything. And then,
big time.
yeah. And then I dropped that and got my Jazz Bastard thingamabob that I still don't know what to call it. And, that's got a beefy, Brandon Wound bridge pickup, Telly bridge pickup. And then I had to rearrange everything again. It was very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Curious to hear what ones didn't work well together.
Well, it's not that they didn't work well together. It's that they didn't work as. It was kind of like, okay, well, that's doing a thing. But then I was like, ooh, what's this thing that's happening? So it wasn't. There wasn't really a donkey in the race. I wouldn't say that. But there were some that just actually really, really came to life.
Yeah.
So, anyways. Let's find out more about you. You're currently in Memphis area, outside of Memphis area. Is that your home base? You always?
Yes, I'm just in the suburbs outside of Memphis, born and raised. So just right across the state line, basically.
Right. And obviously that's a pretty guitar centric area. So
yes, it was until maybe 10 years ago or so. Mm-hmm. There's really not much going on anymore as far as music is concerned.
Really?
For tourists, we keep it alive. But there's not much of a scene these days.
So that's surprising. Let's talk about your early influence. What was your biggest influence on your playing, or like getting you to actually get into playing?
So my dad has played since he was 9 years old. So he's 55 now, however old that would make him. So there were always guitars around the house and everything. And from an early age, maybe 6 or 7, there were always guitars around the house. And slowly but surely, he taught me a few things, and it kind of went from there. So then I got into the music scene around 7th or 8th grade. So about 12, 13 years old, I started playing some singer-songwriter type things at different venues around Memphis, and played in some metal bands and some other bands, and just kind of rode that for the next 7 or 8 years. And then, that was it.
Metal band. So let's get a little specific here. What kind of stuff were you playing?
Similar to so it kind of sounds cheesy now, but like Under Oath type stuff, or A Day to Remember, things like that. Kind of pop metal, probably.
Okay.
Would be considered these days. So I played basically everything under the sun. Anything I could get my hands on, I played. Any instrument I could get my hands on, I played. And
what were you playing back then? What kind of instrument?
So my first guitar I got when I was 9 was a Squier Strat.
Nice.
And then I upgraded around 11 or 12 to a
Telly?
Mexican Strat. And then a few years later, I got another Strat. And no, I didn't.
Strats are the best.
Yeah, I had a couple of Strats, and then I went to a Les Paul. And then when I started playing more of the metal stuff, I moved to a PRS Tremonti. I don't even remember the specific model. Then I pretty much quit playing quit playing electric when I got older and moved out and all of that. And just apartment living, it's not conducive to electric guitar. So then, when I bought a house and stuff around, I don't know, when I was 21 or so, I was able to get back into electrics, and that's when I found my love for Tellys.
Interesting.
So
what sparked?
I will never go back.
What sparked you jumping to a Telly?
I saw something online. I just started seeing parts casters people were putting together. So what interested me is I was 20 or 21 and had no money, and said I can build one relatively cheap. So I'm an ultimate DIY type person, so I wanted to go that route and did. And I just love the Telly, everything about it.
That's awesome. What color? What did you tell us some specifics? That we're all hanging on you.
Oh yeah. So my main one is my main Telly is Daphne blue with a tortoise pickguard.
Oh, beautiful.
Really beat up.
Mm-hmm.
And the body, I did weigh it at one point. It is the heaviest slab of ash that you've ever felt. I have had Les Paul since then, and it's heavier than a Les Paul.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, but I'm not on stage, so it's cool. I just, can sit with it in my lap or whatever, and it doesn't bother me that it's that heavy. And I fully believe that the weight of it is why it sounds so good. It has tons of sustain. It's just, I really don't feel the need to get any more guitars after that one. I know that's like a eternal sin to say, but yeah, it's just great.
That's probably keeping you out of the poorhouse anyways.
Yeah. I'm not really too big into guitars, honestly. That one plays well. It plays as well as I need it to. I'm not a phenomenal player, so yeah, I just kind of stick with it.
That's cool.
Sounds great. Plays well.
It knows
Strings
you and
only
you
have
know
a little
it.
bit
That's
of
cool.
rust.
Yeah. Solid. Is that a rosewood neck?
No, it's
fingerboard?
not.
Sorry,
That one.
I'm being technical.
That one has a maple neck. So it's actually a custom shop neck now that I was able to find online. So it's a custom shop maple neck directly from Fender, and it's good.
That's cool.
I do have I have a 72 Deluxe that has a rosewood neck, and I really don't know which one I prefer. I mean, they're both fine. Mm-hmm. But yeah, my main one is a maple neck.
I like a maple neck on a Telly myself. I think I prefer it, to be honest.
It does, like, I feel like your fingers glide a little better on it, which that could just be me. I'm not sure. But as far as tones go, I don't really know. I would have to put that neck on the blue one's body, and then I would kind of know if it made a difference there. But yeah, it's great.
That's cool.
And I do still have an American Strat if you ever want to borrow.
Yeah,
borrow
Todd
it
would probably
good.
want to borrow it.
That's
Do
a
you
really
want to
great
swing
guitar.
down and play it? Yeah.
So, what was your first? Or what was the first amp that you kind of paired up with? By the way, does your guitar have a name?
No,
Okay.
it does not.
Some people have names. Just checking.
Wait, I know what it is. It's Fender Telecaster.
Yeah, it is.
That's what all my guitars are.
Of several different varieties. It's a Frankenstein at this point.
Okay.
What was the first amp that you paired with it that you said, "This is the sound I want"?
So I was using a AC-15 when I got that one.
Nice.
Which I still do. I do love AC-15s. I don't currently have one. Probably when it came together was when I got the Bassman and the Princeton both running. That's when it really clicked that there was just the sound that I was after.
So you run them together.
Yeah, so I have 3 on pretty much at all times.
Wow. That's a lot of Fender going on.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So what do you think that those 3 are doing with each other? I'm just curious. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody run 3.
So yeah, my pedal board is set up basically, like I said, wet, dry, wet. So I have essentially 3 chains, each going into a different amp. So I have a different drive texture on each one. I do have an Ahab going into every amp, but different drives, different reverbs. Everything's just doing something a little different. I have the, obviously the Princeton or the Bassman really can't keep up with the Twin. Twins are just loud no matter how low you go. So they're just all kind of at different levels. They're all just different wet mixes, different. I'll even put a delay on it sometimes, a very light delay, kind of just like a Trails. I don't know. They just work differently. You can stack without muddying everything up. you're still getting the clarity even when you're stacking different drives.
Right.
It works really well for looping too, which is mainly what I do. I play by myself, so I'm constantly looping different things. So I'll loop in different amps and have certain parts go into certain amps and, not in the other amps, different things like that.
Well, that's cool, man. That sounds really a fun place to be playing music. Your setup there.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, it's way too complicated for my audience, which is my dogs. But it's great. I love it.
Nice. So let's see. You were just talking about your workshop earlier. Let's get into the things that you make there. Hopefully by now, audience, you have made your way over to Instagram and seen some of those things, or over to his website, Pinebox Customs, and you can check out. He's got a lot of pedals. How long you been doing this, man? I built my first pedal in 2015, just out of a kit, but actually like diving into the design aspect and things like that. Going on 2 years now, so not long at all, really. What was the thing that made you jump from? So you made a kit, which I think a lot of people kind of start at. What was the thing that what you went from the kit? Yeah,
so I made a kit, or I think 3 in 2015, and then didn't do anything for at least a year. Just it wasn't my thing. So then a year later, maybe, I was driving through, it's kind of a busy story, driving my parents' neighborhood and hit a stop sign, or I didn't hit it, but, stopped at a stop sign and looked over to my right, and I saw what I thought was an amp head sitting in like a pile of trash getting ready to be picked up. So of course I turn around and go see what it is, and it's actually a 68 Bassman.
What?
So yes. So I'm like, okay, I definitely want this. So the guy was outside, and I asked if he's throwing it away, and he said yes. And he even loaded it into my truck. Southern hospitality, and yeah. So I went home and researched, I guess, how to rebuild it, because I definitely plugged it in and it definitely smoked. So, yeah, well, I didn't know anything. So, yeah, I went and researched how to rebuild it and bought a kit and everything to rebuild it from Mojo Tone, and that was it. And I immediately got hooked into electronics.
That's cool.
Cool.
That's a great story, man.
Those are my boys over there, man. Mojo Tone.
Yeah, it's I've wanted to build a few more, or I have a couple I have had my eyes on and haven't yet, but I imagine eventually I'll order something else from them.
Cool.
I know we really haven't gotten deep into your pedals yet, which we're about to, but do you think there's any chance you'll ever design an amp?
I'm actually already working on it, nice. But I can build something that I like a Bassman or something, no problem. And I even have a circuit worked out that's kind of a Bassman with a spring reverb circuit as well. But I don't think that I would ever release it to the public, just because of cost, and also I'm not sure how far my insurance goes. And
right,
you're not going to die from 9 volts, but if I'd mess up an amp, then it might not be good. So, yeah, I don't know. Probably not, but I wouldn't say no for sure.
Interesting.
For myself, absolutely, I will.
You're the actual pedals. So you built the Bassman, and then you said so going from rebuilding a head to starting a line of pedals.
Yeah, so I actually I really got into electronics and started looking around, and I've always been kind of big on Instagram. So I started noticing, I was already into pedals at this point, by the way, just not into building. So I started to notice some people were doing some hand painted pedals, Champion Lucky specifically.
Oh yeah.
So I saw Woolly stuff, and so I can do that. I was always first and foremost a visual artist. So yeah, I just wanted to do it, and that was it. Once I get my mindset on something, I just kind of go for it and dive in. And yeah, after probably the day that I saw people were actually kind of doing the DIY thing and hand painting pedals, I'm sure I ordered a few $100s worth of equipment probably that day.
Wow.
But that's just, yeah, you can ask my wife. It's great.
Now Champion Lecky does something that I really like. So my question is to you, can you draw underwear and lightning bolts?
Not as well as Wooly can, no.
Or frequently.
Yeah. That said, the aesthetic that you've created for your brand is just aces. I love it. It's great because each one has its own personality, and it's unique. I'm always astounded in the sea of pedals. I mean, there are just hundreds and hundreds of pedal brands. To be able to jump in at this point in the game and create a brand that is unique and even unique sounding pedals, it doesn't have to be undiscovered yet. You don't have to create a sound that's never happened. And I think that's one of the things that people struggle with is like, how many overdrive pedals do we need? We need them all. Yeah. Because they're all different. That's why.
Absolutely.
And it shouldn't stop you if you're considering doing something like this. You just heard Jordan basically say, it wasn't my thing. I wasn't in electronics. Then I found something awesome. And then I got in electronics and I started making overdrives. Then I'm going to jump into the most heavily populated pond, in pedals, and you still created something unique. That's astounding.
Yeah. Well, initially, I was more focused on the art aspect. There weren't that many people doing hand painted, which I'm still focused on that. But yeah, I thought that I could put my mark on the market with my art. I actually went to art college, Memphis College of Art, and I've never done anything with it, and I'm still in debt because of it. So, it's really the first time I was able to. I guess utilize my education and I guess the passion that I chased for so many years and actually bring it to a larger platform where now my art is in Brazil and the UK and Australia and it's
and Ohio.
It was in Ohio of all places. So yeah, it's been kind of nuts. Anybody can do it as long as you, I guess, just stay focused and learn everything that you can and work hard.
So speaking of working hard, first of all, I went to art school as well in California, and I too am still paying that off this many years
don't tell
after.
Me that.
It's true. It's true. It's all true. Everyone. Anyways, but hey, so what you need to do is help Jordan pay off his student loan debt right now by going and getting one of his pedals. That's what you need to do. Two of his pedals. Find two that work. Get all six. It's like a collection. It's like a limited edition collection, except it's not limited. Yeah. So speaking of working hard, can you share with us, as you're going through this process, not having started out as an electronic person per se, what were some of the issues that you ran into as you started building and started creating your own sounds?
So I don't even know that I knew enough to know that I was having issues at that point. I fried a couple of sets of tubes. Absolutely did that. Several other things. I guess the main issue was just understanding, I guess, the flow of a circuit. What certain things, like what transistors were, op amps and that things, and how to filter. I mean, just the very basics were kind of hard to catch on to, just because, when you're researching something, the people who are posting on most things are already experts, or they have quite a bit of knowledge on it. So they do not dumb things down enough for people like me who have no idea. So their articles and things like that kind of go into it with assuming that you already have some kind of knowledge of this. So if you don't, then, it becomes kind of difficult. But once you kind of get the basic building blocks down, it's really not, they're fairly simple. at least until you get into certain digital things and modulation and that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, a few components and a little bit of research, and you can make yourself a pretty outstanding driver fuzz.
Do you have any like a main resource that you felt was super helpful that you could share?
Yes. So Brian Wampler put out some PDFs several years ago that just go over it's a book in PDF form, but just goes over the basics of a circuit. And I mean, simple things like this symbol on a schematic is a transistor, and we call a transistor Q1 or Q2, things like that, like the very basics. And he really dumbed it down to for a non-electronics person to understand. So that was my first step. And then after that, you can get on to different things like DIY pedals and effects layouts and things like that. But really just old articles. You can research guitar pedals from the 60s or the 70s and things like that. And we're neck deep with the internet right now and all of these old circuits and stuff that not all of them have been resurrected yet. And you can still, kind of bring back these circuits that are not really viewed as being very popular and play with them and kind of make something that's not out there right now.
Yeah. And I would also recommend, at least for me, I've brought this guy up a few times, and he's not necessarily a pedal centric or even guitar electric centric gentleman, but I find him to be terribly entertaining, and I learned a lot from a particular video that I saw on YouTube. There's a fellow with his channel is called BigClive.com, like .com.
Clive. I don't think I've seen him.
He's a Scottish gentleman who is giant. He literally looks like the dad from Tangled or something.
Okay, so like a Scottish Jared.
Yes, exactly. A Scottish Jared with a big red beard. I'm not joking.
Only nicer.
And he is a hardcore electric. He's really in. From what I understand, he does a lot of like event lighting and sound and stuff. So he's working with some pretty heavy electronic machinery. But the thing that I found, I was just trying to learn more about what do some of these components do. Mm-hmm. And he has one video that he literally just takes a white piece of paper with a Sharpie and says, this is a resistor. This is what it does. And it is the most primary way to understand something that I have run across yet. And he talks, the way he talks is very musical, and he just sounds like the nicest guy. And you're like, wow, I feel like I'm learning this from my elementary school teacher. It's fantastic.
And that's what it takes. There's not that much information out there like that. So that's good to hear there's another resource.
Yeah, for sure. And his channel is just very entertaining all around. But specifically, look for the one about components. That's BigClive.com. You won't regret it. He's probably like, why I keep getting these spikes every couple anyways, so
maybe we should have Big Clive as a guest.
Oh, that would be hilarious.
Dude, it would.
Fantastic. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your pedal line. You said you're very into the drive area, and I gotta say, man, they sound great, and they're very well put together, extremely solid, top quality. I was just really thoroughly impressed. So walk us through, what was the first one you put out?
Ahab was.
And that's sort of your flagship, isn't it?
It is. That came about from a Brian Wampler video where I actually connected things backwards. And Ahab is me incorrectly putting together what I was trying to put together at the time. And
that's amazing.
It just sounded so good. It's pretty simple, but it's still my number one as far as just kind of the lighter overdrives.
I think one of the most fun sounds that I got was pairing that up with the Ruminations.
Yes.
That just came alive.
Yeah, I'm pretty much stack all of them. So I know the sounds pretty well at this point. And, yeah. So I'm glad you liked that one.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously the Ahab by itself is pretty fantastic. And for what it's worth, I also really love that you designate the level knobs with the red knob.
Yeah, that's a new thing
Super
that
smart.
I don't know if I'll stick with, but I don't have knob labels just because I feel like it clashes with my art. So I feel like at least have a volume, specified so you don't blow your eardrums.
Yeah.
I think it's a nice probably little touch. Will stick with it.
Good.
Yeah.
Ooh, so let's see. Let's talk about the Palatine real quick.
Yeah, so the Palatine actually came second, I believe. It's just a really simple, straightforward, clean boost. It's not a really hot seller or anything, but it is. It's a really good clean boost, and I really use it at the front of the chain to push, just to kind of give everything a little bit of extra grit. So I actually run two. I run one at the beginning of the chain, and then I don't know if you noticed, but if you cut the volume, it actually attenuates a little bit. So I actually run one at the very end of the chain that connects all three of my signals, connects them at that point, and then I can kind of keep unity gain or unity volume with it as well.
Right.
So yeah, it's kind of like a utility deal for me.
It's got something special that most boosts don't, which is your bias knob. You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so the bias knob is external now, which is new. I pretty much adjusted it almost every time I played. I played off and then adjust it to whatever I was playing at the time. So I figured, why not just put it on the front, or make it accessible where you can kind of give it a little bit of grit or cut it back to just use it as a clean boost and just give it a little more flexibility than it previously had.
Yeah, it gives it a little bit of that. It sounds almost like you were trying to give it some of that Ghost in the Machine a little bit sound. In your description, you're talking about a little bit of extra harmonics and stuff, which is, that's one of those things. You just dial it a little bit and it's nothing, and pretty soon you hit that sweet spot and you're like, whoa. Yeah,
it does something with the. I haven't seen it on like a scope or anything, but if it does something with the high frequencies when you have the bias turned up and you have it cranked a little bit, that it's great for, like you were talking about earlier, like helping cut through the mix. So if you've already got your drive signal going, you can pop that on and not even necessarily change the volume, but it adds a little bit of just little harmonics that kind of cut through. So it's pretty important on my rig.
That is a handy little helper right there. And then your ruminations.
Yeah, so the ruminations is based on a tone bender, and my main goal with that one was to get the more overdrive sounds out of it, while also obviously I wanted to have a fuzz, but kind of the entry into fuzz. So it's got a 2-band EQ, bass, and treble. It's got an external bias pot, your typical volume and fuzz pot, and it covers a lot of territory.
It's now if somebody is going like, I like fuzz. I didn't get the impression that one. It's like a lightweight fuzz almost. It's it feels like that. It doesn't feel like you're getting like Box of War or something like that.
Yes. So it does have a trim pot on the inside that you can adjust, and I've marked the majority of them. Mm-hmm. But if you cut it just 25%, it actually goes into a really cool gated fuzz, if that's your thing.
Yeah.
But that's not how I send them out. But it's a happy find if you're curious and crack it open.
Nice touch. How about the Tersus?
So Tersus is also tone bender based, though they're nothing alike. I'm sure if you've played both of them.
Right.
So the ruminations is on the lighter side of fuzz. Well, Tersus is technically it is a fuzz circuit wise, but it's not a fuzz at all. It's a really subtle.
So it's like me. It's completely right and wrong at the same time.
Correct.
I agree with that.
Yeah, so it's got it's also got a 2-band EQ, so bass and treble. It's got I believe I call it the currents knob, which is a bias, but it's got a really low sweep, so it's not doing a ton unless you're really listening at different frequencies, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And then it has volume, of course. So the goal behind Tersus was to have kind of an always on for more of the like rock sound. It's not a fuzz, and it doesn't really fit into fuzz or overdrive, in my opinion. It's just a nice, kind of like a dirty amp sound.
There you go.
So that was the initial idea. So what I've actually learned about it now is where it fits best is stacking it with other drives. So it has a lot of power, and it has just a little extra something. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but it puts just a different flavor on any drive you put with it. And it's become probably my favorite drive to put in front of anything else. It pushes them so hard and gives you a little bit of EQ abilities with it. And yeah, that's kind of how I use it. Not as much standalone as much as stacking.
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned before, the stacking really was a wonderful thing to play around with, and your pedals, being able to use so many of them together was really unique. I think, a lot of times we'll get pedals, and like each one of the pedals are pretty great, but they're not necessarily meant to use like Legos, and yours are very much Legos.
Yeah, and that's the main reason why I sent y'all the entire line, was because that's how I hear it, and that's how I designed them. And when Ahab didn't go far enough for me, I needed to design something that took it to the next level. So then came Palatine, and I could push Ahab a little further and a little more drive, and then so on and so forth. So yeah, I mean, when they're designed, they really do work as a collective.
Right. Very cool.
Which I'll eventually have to get out of that, but yeah, that's how I play them, and that's how it is so far.
I like that. I like your style, man. I like it a lot. So, man, I'm really thrilled that we got to hear so much of your backstory, and even about your pedals, the thing that you do for all of us.
Yeah.
We are going to adjourn out of this segment and head on over to the wonderful, wet and wild world of Jared and his golden throat.
That is correct. And everybody knows what time it is.
That is correct.
That's right.
Okay.
It is time for Would You Rather?
What?
Whoa.
What's that?
This week's Would You Rather is brought to us by our good old buddy, David Kaminga.
All right.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. Came and visited us at the summer nap.
He's a contributor to our Guitar Knobs podcast world.
He is. So here's this thing. Would you rather be known for always playing the same guitar? Like, oh, look, it's Todd playing the Stratocaster. Or it's Jared playing that, SG Les Paul.
Well, that would be like Angus playing his SG.
That's right. Or would you rather be known for playing a different kind of guitar all the time? Like Steve Miller. I think he changes every song. He changes guitar every song.
Cheap Trick.
Yeah, like Uncle Dick. That's kind of a tough one, actually.
Very interesting one.
Yeah, that's a good one, David.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, we've probably seen the poster out there with each person with the guitar. There's an illustrated poster out there. And it's got like sort of guitar heroes through history who always play either the single guitar. So my guy Joe Strummer, he had the Telly. And there are several people out there that have the same thing. It's like, that's the guitar. So when you see it, in some cases, it's extra special. Mm-hmm. On other hands, you get excited when you're like, oh, he's bringing out that one. Yeah, I love that one.
I think the most special guitar would probably be the Red Special because the guy, he made it.
Could be. But there's another great example. Yes, sir. Let's see here. Ooh, this is a good one. Tony, what are you doing?
I think as much as I'd like to be known for one guitar, that's just not in my, it's not in my DNA. Mm-hmm. I just love different guitars, different tones. So I would be one of those guys that had, toured with 50 guitars, I guess, and drove my tech crazy. I mean, if I go to a Cheap Trick show, it's
you
always fun to see what Rick's playing.
Yeah.
And he brought that one. That's cool. That's a really cool thing. Yeah, So I guess I wish I could be one of those people that just had one guitar.
Yeah,
but I got to have a whole bunch.
Yeah, that is a fair statement, Jared.
Definitely several different guitars. I've got one or two that I would probably keep close to my heart, near and dear to my heart, but several guitars is the way to go.
No, we're talking about on stage, though.
Yeah.
Okay,
absolutely.
I'm just checking.
Well, sure. I mean, if I'm going to play Yellow Ledbetter, I want a Stratocaster. If I'm going to play, Honky Tonk Woman, like a Telecaster, right?
With 5 strings.
Well,
sure.
Yeah, I think maybe I'm thinking about this as not like covering and stuff, but like this is the sound of your band.
Okay, if you were a original band, I'd go with several different guitars. Still.
Okay,
yeah,
still the same thing.
Yeah,
Jordan, how about yourself?
I would have to go with one guitar.
Ooh. One guitar, one Telecaster, the Telecaster.
I'm kind of sentimental, so I like the idea of, let's say, if I've had that Telecaster for 5 years now and kind of have it the rest of my life, there's a lot of stories there.
Yeah. And
then just mastering one instrument, being the master of one and not playing every one a little sloppier than I would if I knew every inch of the fretboard on one.
That's a really interesting aspect. I think that's pretty valuable. Well, Todd. I'm already in the camp of multiple guitars.
But they all look similar.
They do. They all look similar. They are all black with gold sparkle pickguards.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I'm not playing him to, like a trophy case kind of thing. I'm not like, oh, look at me, let me show you this guitar. First of all, I'm not good enough to do that. But when I write a song, I will start writing and I'm like, maybe it doesn't feel right. There's, each of those guitars has a different feel to it. Not even, and sound. So when I'm writing something, whatever song that it clicks with that's the guitar that I'm like, all right, you get this song now. And so that's the way we stack them up in my current situation. So, and I've tried to do practice just to keep myself like better. I will do practice with one guitar through the whole thing, and it's so obvious when I was like, I really should be playing the other guitar, but I do it so that hey, in the event something happens, I need to be able to grab one of the other ones and go. Yeah. But that's trickier. I almost feel like I'm betraying the song if I play it on a different guitar. It's kind of weird.
Wow.
Yeah,
you're legit.
I've got a couple of guitars.
Betray a song or betray a guitar?
Both.
I have a couple of guitars that have multiple uses, like split pickups and all that kind of thing. And I even have one with a piezo pickup for acoustic stuff. But I don't know. Just several guitars is, for me, I think is better visually for the crowd as well.
Could be, yeah.
So
yeah. Interesting. That's a great question. Thank you, David Kaminga, for sending that in.
My man.
That was very cool.
Yeah. Jordan, where can people find your pedals?
Yeah, so you can find me on pineboxcustoms.com. You can also find me on Reverb, oxboaudiolabs.com, and I believe that's it. And I'll do for a solid month after this episode comes out, I'll do a 15% discount using the coupon code Guitar Knobs.
That is awesome news. I love that. Thank you. What a generous gentleman that you are. That's great. Everybody, better take advantage of this because these pedals are outstanding. Truly, we all really loved playing them, and it was a real treat. Thank you very much. That is too kind. Too kind.
Yep.
Look for that promotion on Instagram. So we'll have that up at the top. You can look and see, what deals we have for our listeners, and and if you're confused and you're like, there was a deal, I'm pretty sure. If you after that you hear this can't figure it out, hit me up. It's okay. Or hit Jordan up. Just go to Pinebox and say, what was the thing?
Hit somebody.
Yeah.
Just hit him.
So Jordan, again, thank you so much for that. Let's see here. Tony.
Yes.
We have some people we want to thank real quick.
Yes, there are.
Hit us up.
So at this segment of the show, we like to thank a special group of people.
Yep.
This would be our executive producers.
I love them.
We love them. But then again, we love all of our patrons.
Most of them.
Most of all of them. Not most of them.
I know all of them.
Oh, Jared. So you're saying to yourself, I'm thinking about becoming a patron. How do I do it? Here's how you do it. Go over to patreon.com/The Guitar Knobs. Mm-hmm. When you're there, you will see various levels in which you can participate. And at each level, there are some really wonderful things. Barefoot buttons, T-shirts, stickers, picks, all kinds of things. It's too numerous to mention. Yeah. But at the level that we all love the best, that would be our executive producers. In addition to all those great prizes, Jared, what happens?
Like right now, you get to have your name read on the thing.
And that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm reading names. Reading these names. Thank you to each and every one of you. And if I don't read your name and you're a patron, thank you too.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Let's thank Tom Barazin, Martin Cliff, John Daly, Sean S. Chris Kearney, Darren Gregory, Doug Christ, Michael Van Zant, Brad Partridge, Corey Nigro,
the carpenter from Boston,
Ken Sayers, Jonathan Jerusik, Brian Robison, Michael Senchuk, Michael McVeigh, Rick Lenglu, Stefan Lam, Johnny Knowles, Anthony Lanthrop, John Englund, Tyler Bray, Tig Harmon, Chris Heidel, John Esterly, Tim Nowak, and Doug Gann.
All right.
Woo-hoo! Thank you, and thank you.
Thank you again. One more for the road. Tony Baloney, where can people find you?
Let's say you want a special pickguard. Mm-hmm. You got a big anniversary coming up.
Yep, you just bought a 65 Melody Maker and want to make it better.
You want to make it bigger, better, stronger, faster.
Yes.
Head on over to pickguardian.com. Check out some of my standard offerings, and then also check out some of the special things.
Make just about anything you want, people.
You want your name on it? You want your logo on it? I do that too.
Cool.
Or go over to Instagram. Mm-hmm. Pick Guardian and the number 1. See some of the projects I've been working on.
Perfect. Jared.
If you need some old, new-looking pickups, or if you need some rewound.
What? I think you mean new, old-looking pickups. Don't you?
That's right. If you have old pickups that need to be new-looking again, you can send those too. Any which way you spin it.
If you just need some great-sounding pickups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like really legitimately fantastic-sounding pickups, hit Jared up.
BrandonWantPickups.com. Look
Boom.
me up.
Poof. All right. You can drop me a note, Todd at theguitarknobs.com. You can also direct message me. I don't know what direct mail is, but you can direct message me on Instagram, and we would love to hear from you. We would love to hear what you think about the show. We would love to hear your would you rathers. Send those to us. We just got a whole bunch of new ones. We're really excited.
Oh, that's cool.
And we also would love for you to drop Jordan at Pine Box Customs a line and tell him how much you enjoyed this episode, and make sure you go take advantage of that 15% off his pedals. Get some of these things. You will not be disappointed. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. Have a fantastic guitar week. Jordan, thank you so much for spending so much time with us.
Thanks, Jordan.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
You bet. And make sure that you subscribe.
Yeah.
Do you have a slight tinge of Zach Galifianakis in your voice?
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Has anybody ever told you that?
No, they have not.
Yay!
I can put on a turtleneck.
Ooh. So,
Are you done being silly?
yes.
All right.
No.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.